Hey, mamma jammas between the ages of 18 and 35. Welcome to a review of this Steam controller. A lot of people might be wondering why I purchased the Steam controller. You know, it hasn't received such a positive response from the community. Well, the answer to that is that I am a huge gay faggot, and I like to buy gay faggot products. And the Steam controller at the time seemed like a pretty faggy product to buy. You know, it's sort of the PC elitist controller. Anyway, I have it now, so let's review it. So the first thing that should be apparent on the Steam controller is the two speakers facing out front. I used that joke last time, but I'm using it again because I think it's a winner. These two thumb pads. Now, these little motherfuckers are some good shit, let me tell you. I like them. I like the pads. I know some people don't, but, you know, it really is, it's like nothing else you've ever used. They're sort of like a trackpad, but they've got sort of a haptic feedback feel. Here, they sort of buzz in your fingers when you're using them. They make a buzzing sound. Anyway, they make a buzzing sound and they vibrate beneath your finger wherever you're touching it. And, you know, if you flick it, it feels like sort of a mouse trackball. Like a trackball mouse. You flick it and it's got momentum. Now, in non-game functions, you can use the right one similar to a mouse. Now, the left one in non-game functions functions similar to the scroll wheel. You can scroll around on it, like on an iPod, like on an old school type iPod. And that one also clicks and buzzes underneath your finger, and you can feel it, and it feels like it's moving. It's like nothing else you've ever used before in your life, trust me. Now, as far as the placement of the face buttons on the controller, I'm not entirely satisfied. It is a mirrored placement to the Xbox controller that we're used to. So this is sort of a new layout that I'm not a super big fan of. The buttons usually, if you have a pretty bad memory, are up here, and the stick is down here, whereas they've been flip-flopped on the Steam controller. And that makes for some confusing movement, but I feel like that is just more of me getting used to it. You know, it's just another thing to get used to in addition to the trackpads. Now, the one control stick here is fantastic, and it's got some haptic feedback to it as well sometimes. In non-game functions, it vibrates because it works as sort of, you know, a page up, page down function, and it vibrates every time you make a movement with it. Now, this left pad also doubles in-game as a D-pad. You can press it in. It's a little bit tough to press in. It's a little bit harder than a regular D-pad, but quite honestly not that bad. A lot of people have overstated how hard it is to press in. It's just a little bit harder, and I think that's because you're going to be using it for other functions as well, and so they wanted to make sure there were no accidental presses. Steam has a menu for the controller in their big picture mode, and you can choose whether the right pad in-game works as a control stick or as a mouse, or as a hybrid control stick mouse, which is what I've been using to play Fallout 4. It actually works quite well. I'm a little bit clumsy with it now, but I'm getting better every minute I play, and I feel like, you know, within a month's time or so, I will probably be just as good with the Steam controller as I am with a traditional controller. Now let's check out the triggers. On the top, we have a left and right bumper, which are very clicky and very satisfying. A little bit like the bumpers on the Xbox One controller. They're nice and wide, and your fingers fit on them very well. Very ergonomic. This whole controller is really ergonomic. It feels great to hold. At first, I didn't really like how it was sort of a reverse controller shape. A normal controller would be held in sort of this with the paddles facing down, or what are these called? Grips? With the grips facing down. But these grips point upwards, and at first I thought I wouldn't like that, but I'm finding that it is actually very comfortable to hold. Triggers here, as I mentioned in a video before, are very GameCube-like. There's a gradual press in and then a click at the bottom. You can press it in and click. So they're sort of a two-function trigger, which is really nice and something that I wish more triggers these days would do, because the press in and click of the GameCube made it very versatile and very comfortable and really easy to gauge how far into the trigger pull you were. Now let's talk about these little mamma jammas on the bottom. You like mamma jammas? That's my new word that I say. These paddles, as people have started calling them, on the bottom. In non-game functions, they serve as sort of a last page, next page function in a web browser. I'm not sure what they would do in another program, but sort of a backwards forward button. And in a game, they serve as your A and Y buttons, which I'm not sure why, but that really works well for Fallout because one of them is jump and the other one is action. I don't know if that was planned or not, but it works fantastic in Fallout because you can be aiming and pressing the action button simultaneously, and it works really well, and it's a godsend with this trackpad when you're first starting to learn it. The battery life of the Steam controller also is very good, it seems. I've been going for several days straight. I haven't even turned it off hardly because I've been using it as a mouse and a game controller, and it has held up on the 2 AA batteries that were provided, so no complaints in that department. The build quality of the Steam controller right out of the box might seem a little iffy. It's made of that ticky-tack plastic we talked about last time on my Spectra review, but after a while I have found that it feels very solid when playing it, and I guess that might just be a first impression that I have with modern controllers. I'm not sure. The DualShock 4 doesn't feel that way to me. The DualShock 4's plastic is very warm and very solid, whereas this plastic feels very cheap, but you know, I guess it's not because the controller works very well and it doesn't feel cheap when you're playing it. I like the design of the controller because it's very minimalist, it's very Valve. You've just got your Valve logos on the front and back. There's no legal information, no serial numbers or anything. That is all hidden in the battery compartment. And even that information is very minimalist and non-intrusive. The whole thing just feels like it's part of the Steam experience. I don't know if that's a thing anybody's ever said, but it does feel like it's part of the Steam experience, and it feels like it was made for Steam because it was. My biggest complaint about this controller is that the surface is not entirely matted. It is glossy, so it is a little bit of a fingerprint magnet right where your fingers go, which is no bueno. And other than that, it is matted across the entire controller. So I don't know why they chose a glossy finish for the front and not for the back. I wish that the entire thing was matted. I think that controllers in general look better when they're matte and not glossy because they're not covered in fingerprints. And that's my review of the Steam controller. It's not a perfect controller by any stretch of the imagination, but I do like it. It's an experience. I feel like it might replace my mouse in some regards because it does make a very good mouse. And in general, you know, it's a really good multi-purpose controller. It can be used for PC games that you couldn't usually use a controller for. It can be used for traditional games. And it can even be used as a mouse and keyboard. So I'm going to have to give this Steam controller a buy it. I'm going to say buy the Steam controller. It's only $50. It's $10 cheaper than most controllers, and it's just, you know, just packed up the butt with technology. So it's worth your money. Trust me. Just go out and pick one up. They are awesome. If you enjoyed this video and if you enjoyed the Steam controller, please like, comment, and subscribe and do all those things that I tell you to do every single video. I have been Parker Peters, and this has been the Steam controller. Thanks for watching. Good night. Or should I say, buenos noches. Buenos noches. That is French for have a good evening, folks. So do it. Have buenos noches and good night.